Hello, everyone. I'm gonna sit here for a second and wait for people to get in. Wait for more people to join. Alright, do I sound to the people in chat? Am I too quiet, too loud? You know, whatever the deal may be. I see we have a guy speaking Spanish. I don't know. I see Puerto Rico, and Puerto Rico is nowhere close to this storm. But we've got a lot on our hands, to say the least, within the next few days, or next day. Sounds great. Okay. Like I posted, I'm just going to wait a few more minutes. Probably going to start closer to 3:40. If you can hear background noise, I am in a dorm in college, so you're going to hear background noises probably. I can't control that, unfortunately. You think it'll hit East Texas? It will be there will be impacts in East Texas, not very big ones, but the storm will be crossing southeast Louisiana. So in East Texas, you get a lot of rain, some clouds. Maybe not, you're not even that much rain, but at the coast there might be tropical storm force winds. Overall, not really much impact in East Texas. Gonna wait just a few more minutes. How long do you think this is gonna last? This will be a very quick moving storm, and I'll get more into that in a second. But overall, typically, you know, storm like Ida. This storm will be nothing like Ida. Let me just put that out there first thing. But this storm is going to be moving very fast. Ida stalled when it came in. This one will be speeding up as it comes through. So overall, it'll last a few hours at peak. You'll have small impacts outside of that, but the big window will be from landfall around 5 p.m. to around 9, 10 o'clock, and it'll be out of here. That's tomorrow. But like I said, we will get into that in a second. As much as the storm is going to hit us, we can still admire the beauty of it a little bit. It's hard to do, but it's a pretty storm. It's just what it will do is not very pretty. As it has its sights set on southeast Louisiana. Now the reason I started at 3, I was going to start at 3:30, 3:40. The new advisory from the Hurricane Center, the official forecast will be updated at 4 o'clock. Or actually, it might be out now. We're going to check that. Okay, it is out now. So the new forecast was just issued. This is recent. It does appear that I think that, yeah, so the wind forecast has been dropped by a little bit because it has still not strengthened yet. This is the old advisory. This is not updated yet. I'm gonna wait for that to all file in, but the forecast has been dropped slightly. We will get into location and stuff whenever the cone loads, which it has not done yet. What category do you think it will be? As of this time, it's been sputtering throughout the day today. It looked like it was going to reach category 2. It might not do that. It might still do that, but it will be borderline. It will be a category 1. maybe Category 2, with winds of either 90 or 100 miles an hour. Those are sustained winds. Wind gusts will be higher than that. Could see wind gusts of up to, 105, 110 in the center of the storm, which is where the big part, this is where that's where the threat really lies. All right. So, over the course of the day, we're going to move. I have this ready. Okay. So the storm has not it's not particularly strengthened as much as we had thought it would within the past 24 hours. You know, before that point, it went from, nothing to a 65-mile-an-hour tropical storm very fast. It did that in about 6 hours. When that occurred, we thought, okay, this might get stronger than initially forecasted. It has not strengthened at all in the past day, which is a very good thing. However, that doesn't really change much overall. We are still looking at pretty high wind impact, not really that high of a rain impact because it's moving so fast. But the biggest thing that's happened is that the cone, the forecast path, has shifted east consistently over and over again. This is the update. Okay. A hurricane watch was just issued for New Orleans and the lake. So Lake Pontchartrain, that includes St. Charles Parish, that includes New Orleans, that includes Mandeville, Slidell, Hammond, Laplace. All of those areas were put under a hurricane watch because of how close the forecast now brings the storm. That is new with this advisory. I'm going to post that real quick because that's a very important detail. So I apologize. Give me a second. Give me just a second because this is very important information that I need to make public. Excuse me for a second. Okay. Okay. So, Hurricane Watch again. Hurricane Watch has been issued for Metro New Orleans, St. Charles Parish. I know a lot of you guys are probably in here. It's my main people. Laplace, Mandeville, Hammond, Slidell. As for everyone else, even if you are not in the hurricane watch or warning area, there will be some hefty winds and a lot of rain. Now, the rain forecast, it's not exactly eye-popping. We have 6 to 8 inches of rain forecast across the entire area from it's about Lafayette eastward, which is a lot. However, it's not really something we can't handle, especially we live in swamps. Now, if something were to train over one of the metro areas like Baton Rouge or New Orleans, then we'd have issues. But overall, this will not be that big of a flood threat. The wind impact is a different story. Now, this is not updated, I don't believe. I'm not quite sure this is updated yet, but we'll see. I might come back to that in a second. But for now, we're going to look at the track. I'm not sure if this is updated either. No, this is updated. So the track, it's east again, not by much, but the track is east of Baton Rouge now. Sorry, people are honking outside. The track is east of Baton Rouge now, which is important because if you're in Baton Rouge, you might not see as great of an impact now. The east side of this storm will be very, very significant. And as much as I could go into explanation on that, I'm not going to bore you with that, but the east side is where the strongest winds are, and it will be. It is forecast to be a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane. There is still some time between this point and landfall where it could strengthen up to a Category 2. I'm not quite sure if that's what they're forecasting. They said at last discussion. But let's see. Okay, so no, it's only forecast to be a 90-mile-an-hour hurricane now. Bottom line. If we take a look at radar, okay. This has improved markedly since the last time I looked at it. You can see overall the storm structure was not very good for the past few hours. You can see this big area without rain to the south of the storm, which is indicative of dry air. Dry air has been penetrating the storm for the past day or so, and that's why it hasn't really strengthened very much. If it wasn't for that, we would probably be seeing a pretty significant storm by now. But thanks to the dry air, it hasn't strengthened much. This is the best it has looked in the past 24 hours, though. And I do believe that as it moves northeast, it will finally, it's already looking like it's starting to get its act together. But this won't be a very fast process. But the eye is kind of returning, which is something that even a few minutes ago was not there. In fact, before I started, I was paying attention to radar, and when I last looked at it, it didn't really have an eye, but now it does. It'll fluctuate for the next few hours. It'll probably form a more solid eye tonight. That's when it'll start strengthening a lot more. So in a few hours, we will probably start to see the winds come up finally. But the key is that is coming. I have no idea what this person's saying in chat. I apologize, but I mean, I don't speak Spanish. If someone could help him out that speaks Spanish, then be my guest. But what about Slidell? I think it's okay. So it's probably time to get into impacts per area. Now, once again, I want this to update, and then I'll get to that. I think this is updated anyway. So this graphic, open. I didn't do what I wanted it to. No. There we go. So this graphic is the probability of seeing tropical storm force winds. Now, as you can see, the purple area is 90%. That's where the center is going pretty much. Uh, Outside of that, the dark red is 80. The lighter red is 70. This lighter, very light orange is 60, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10, 5. Um, as of now, most of southeast Louisiana is in the red, purple, 80% more percent chance or more of seeing tropical storm force winds. Those are 40 miles an hour or greater. With higher gusts, that is the important part, with higher gusts. You may see gusts, even if you're just seeing 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds, you may see gusts of up to 60 or 70. See the track moving at all? The track did move east a little bit, but it didn't really move very much. It was a very small shift eastward. But like I said before, hurricane watches were issued for the entirety of Lake Pontchartrain. That includes New Orleans. So, we are seeing things unfortunately not turning out the way we wish they would. Now, the probability for 60-mile-an-hour winds. Now, these are going to go up with time. Because typically, as you get closer to the event, you start to see these probabilities really go up. But the probability of 58-mile-an-hour winds, these are sustained winds again. Remember, the purple, the purple is in the Gulf. The red is sticking out to the coast. You have a pretty high chance, if you're along the coast, of seeing 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds. But even as you go inland, you see the yellows are 30 to 40%. Orange is 40. This dark, I don't even know what to call it. It's almost brown. The brown color is 50. Did I say that right? Yeah, 50 to 60. The orange is 60 to 70. Red, 70 to 80. Most of the area is in the yellow to green. But if you see 60-mile-an-hour sustained winds, you are going to see, 80 to 90-mile-an-hour gusts. Those are the ones that can do damage. If we go back, hurricane force winds. The hurricane force winds for now are mostly confined to the coastal areas. You're not really going to see these inland. It's very hard to get a hurricane force wind on land. It's very hard, in fact. For the most part, Lafayette has kind of lucked out. I mean, Lake Charles definitely has lucked out. Originally, the first forecast, which was only 2 days ago at this point, 2 days ago, the forecast was pointed right at Lake Charles. The center was forecast to go over Lake Charles. And now we see landfall is going to occur in Vermilion Bay, right near Morgan City. I'm going to, hang on. I need a better way. We'll just do it this way. The landfall area will be very close to Morgan City. And I do worry about this area extensively because this is the area that is very prone to storm surge. Obviously, storm surge is water above sea level. And with the push of wind onshore on the east side of the storm, you are going to get very, very, very extensive storm surge. The forecast as of now calls for 5 to 10 feet of storm surge, which is not enough to overtop most levees, but it is enough to sweep away any camps that are not in levee protection. Unfortunately, one of which me and my family owns. Now, for the most part, if you're west of Vermilion Bay, you're not going to see that much storm surge because the winds, for the most part, are going to be blowing offshore. We'll see. We'll do the track. That's kind of. We'll do it like this. It's not the exact track, it's just general. If you're on the left side of the storm, your winds are going to be blowing offshore. And if you're on the right side of the storm, your winds are going to be blowing onshore. So wherever the center crosses shore, if you're on the right side of it, this is the part where the storm surge is going to be highest. Now on the left side, you'll definitely get higher surge because the winds will be onshore before the center passes. But once the center actually gets close, your winds will shift offshore, and these areas will be probably marked down a little more, I would think. I don't believe that they're going to be this high by the time we get to landfall. However, I will say, with the shape of Vermilion Bay the way it is, water might funnel into the bay, and perhaps that might make it very hard to. That might make higher storm surge anyway, but we'll see. Now, as for Lake Pontchartrain, because I know a lot of people are worried about this, in Laplace especially, I know firsthand experience with Ida. Ida completely destroyed Laplace with not just the winds, not just the rain, but the storm surge was bad because the water came in, the winds were blowing from right to left, right in Laplace. For this storm, once again, with the angle it's coming in at, the water will be blowing. At first, the water will be blowing right to left, but as the storm closes in, winds will shift more toward this way, towards south to north. If there is any place that the storm surge is going to be hefty, it's going to be in Mandeville. Either Mandeville, Hammond, or Slidell. Be aware of storm surge from the lake. I know many people from Laplace are probably worried about the storm surge, but I would not be. In this situation, we will be fine. Now, if the track continues to shift east and it's something more like this, I would worry more about Laplace. But as of now, that's not the case. And I don't think it'll ever get there. Because it's a pretty... We're only 24 hours out from this thing making landfall, and I do not believe that that far of an east shift is going to happen. Kind of just going back over what to look at now. One more look at the storm. We'll see. It is starting to come together. You're finally starting to see some central storms, which it did not possess before. Like I said, that eye has come together within the past few minutes. As I've been sitting here watching it, the eye has decided to finally start to get its act together. There is a station up here with 47 mile an hour sustained wind with a gust of 66. That's on the north side of the eye, but it's a good indicator that even now, even with the storm not being that strong, the winds are still hefty. And with the storm, this storm is going to gain probably 30 more miles an hour. And if you're already seeing impacts like winds like this, 30 more miles an hour will do a lot. Now, unfortunately, we haven't had any recon planes to actually tell us how strong the storm is currently. I don't know if. I don't think we've had one in a little bit. Okay, one is on the way. Next plane is on the way to the storm. But as of now, um, if you want information for a specific place, I highly suggest putting it in the chat. Just say, hey, what about this place? What about this? What will the weather be here? I do see Carson said Vermilion Parish. Vermilion Parish, I'm guessing, is obviously the border of Vermilion Bay. And as of right now, Vermilion is a toss up. And I say that because, like I showed before, um, it's highly dependent on where the center crosses. Now, if this goes east even a little bit, Vermilion Parish is a lot better off because the west side of the storm will not be anywhere near as strong as the east side. The strongest winds in this storm will be east of the track. That's a bad color. Will be east of the track. This is where the strongest winds will be. You will definitely have strong winds on the west side of it, but they won't be as strong. Now, Vermilion, it's pretty close to the center line. And as of now, if you're in the center of it, if you're in the center line, obviously prepare either way. I would hope that you prepare. Obviously, if you're in a low-lying area in Vermilion Parish or anywhere along the coast, listen to your local parish president. Listen to whoever issues evacuation orders. They will tell you to get out if you need to. Luling. Okay. So once again, I'm going to answer the St. Charles Parish question because I know will Winshire break down the star. I'll get to that in a second also. But St. Charles Parish is in a pretty bad spot as of now. Once again, we're on the east side of the storm. We're pretty guaranteed to be on the east side of the storm because I don't see this shifting. It'll never shift east enough to where we are out of that. St. Charles Parish appears that it will get somewhere around, I would be betting on 80 to 90 mile an hour wind gusts. Now, unfortunately, I know we had Ida 3 years ago. I know that that's in everyone's heads. This will not be anything like that. Ida was a once in a lifetime kind of storm that probably in our lifetimes will never be replicated again. But the winds will be hefty. They'll definitely be enough to take down trees, and I hope that they don't, but they might be strong enough to damage houses again. But it's definitely something where I would recommend that if you live in St. Charles Parish, board up your windows. If you're in one of the areas that flood, like Destrehan, I know there always seems to be a flood threat in Destrehan, no matter what the situation is. So if you're in Destrehan, definitely, there's probably sandbag areas. Now, preparations need to be complete very quickly because the storm is landfalling in 24 hours. But anything to keep you from flooding, anything to keep you from losing windows, any precaution that you can take needs to be taken. Because this will be a significant storm. Will wind shear break down before the storm before it hits? Okay, so The excuse me. Um, the forecast is not exactly clear cut because it will not be strengthening to landfall, I do not believe. There will be wind shear, which is different winds with different height, that might tear the storm apart before it gets to the coast. Will it be enough? I do not believe. If it starts to weaken the storm before it gets to the coast, it'll only be like 5 miles an hour before it gets inland anyway. But the storm will not be ripping apart or the wind shear will not be ripping apart the storm. I do not believe it will be weakening to landfall, but if it does, it'll be very, very small and not enough. And also, by 7 a.m., by 7 a.m., the storm will already be in Jackson, Mississippi. It will landfall. It appears that landfall time is that's moved up a good bit. The storm does seem to have sped up a little bit, but it does appear landfall will be around 4 or 5 p.m. on Wednesday. By 1 a.m., it's already crossing into Mississippi, and by that point, most of the impacts will be almost over. I'm not going to say over because the winds will probably still be strong by that point. There might be a trailing band or two of rain. But this will be a quick hitting storm that's in and out in probably 6 or 7 hours. But it will be an impactful one. I'm going to start watching this closely because this development here, like I said, the eye has formed in the past hour. Before I started streaming, it wasn't there. I looked away to set up my stream, and by the time, whatever the time was on stream where I looked back at radar, the eye had formed. So, that was probably a 30-minute process. But we'll see if this sticks. How bad will it get in Hammond? I will answer that in 2 seconds. Sorry. Okay, so Hammond. Once again, pretty close to on the right side of the center. I'm going to reiterate the same things I said for St. Charles Parish because even though you're farther inland to where the storm will be weakening by then, you're closer to the center line than even St. Charles Parish is. So the impacts overall from St. Charles Parish to Hammond are probably pretty similar. You could get hurricane force winds, wind gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour. A lot of rain, like we said earlier, 6 to 8 inches of rain seem likely. Could be localized higher spots. Um, Storm surge off the lake if you are close to the lake, which there's not really much close to the lake on this side. But if you are close to the lake, in say Killian, these aren't actually places. I don't know why it's putting those there. And I don't know how low lying this area is, but if these are like I don't if you're only like 8 feet above sea level in this area, I would hope that you would get out. Is what I'm trying to say. Because I think storm surge in this area could be an issue. But overall, a lot of wind, a lot of rain. some localized gusts to 100 miles an hour possible there as well. I might sit here and keep the live stream running for a little while, just in case anything happens, and I can, because if this is actually the eye, and it were to continue to develop this, then I would be very concerned, and I want to get that information out as soon as I can. I also should point out, it wasn't moving very much even just 2 hours ago, but now you can pretty clearly see the motion. The storm is moving once again. This weather station here is going to be interesting to watch. Current pressure is 987 millibars, which in a normal circumstance would probably be a Category 1 hurricane. But in this sense, because the storms haven't been very organized around the center, it wasn't really, the winds weren't really translating. This is a concerning look. I'm going to also mention, I haven't really been paying attention to the rain over here. I guess I probably should. I'm gonna try and load radar over here real quick. See how much rain y'all are getting currently. Okay, a lot of rain. So this is where the flooding problem might be an issue because, if you get rain like this over the next 24 hours, we might see flooding issues. That also, no. Had to make sure that wasn't rotating. But how bad will Plaquemine get hit? Okay, do you mean this Plaquemine near Baton Rouge or Plaquemine's parish? I'm gonna assume you mean this Plaquemine, but I'm gonna wait for you to say otherwise. But this Plaquemine near Baton Rouge would be. It looked right now like it could be on the west side of the storm. Overall, you're probably still going to get very strong winds, even if you end up just west of the center. The Baton Rouge one? Yeah, okay. So this Plaquemine will probably get gusts of, again, could be up to 100 miles an hour. We are, especially if you're very close to the center. For the most part, I would expect something like 70 to 80. Now, the rainy side of this storm will be mostly the west side, it would appear. So you could deal with a worse flood threat over here over Baton Rouge. But as of now, I'd be more worried about the wind threat. And obviously, let me reiterate this. Just because you're west of the track now doesn't mean you will be when this actually comes ashore. We've seen crazy shifts in the forecast. Like I said earlier, 2 days ago the forecast was over here. Yesterday it was at Lafayette. Now it's all the way over here. And you never know, it could keep shifting east perhaps. It could also shift back west a little bit. But that's why there is a cone, which is not that, but that's why the cone exists. The center could go anywhere in this area. We are not good enough forecasters just yet to where we can tell you that, oh, it's going to go exactly here. Unfortunately, we need to improve that area. But as of now, Plaquemine would be here. The center would pass very close to you. Whatever the peak winds are at that time, expect them and prepare accordingly. But yes, there are some heavier storms. Well, there were more heavier storms, but they have kind of faded. Some heavier rains over approaching the New Orleans metro. Light rain the entire way around that. Excuse me. Doesn't really seem very windy, but I don't have. Yeah, it's not very windy at all. And it won't be just yet. But by tomorrow, that will change. I'm going to go back down here for a second. Just to make sure that no more funny business is occurring. Like I said, I'm pretty worried about this. But we'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna probably keep the live stream running for most of the night up until I go to bed. I am going to stream tomorrow. I'm going to hopefully stream Landfall, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to because I do have class until 5 or 4:45. Looks like it's going due east. That's a pretty good observation, actually. It is going pretty much due east currently. Which, I mean, weird stuff does happen sometimes with these storms. They don't move in a straight line. They wobble what direction they want to. But currently it is moving due east. Which is not good for, sorry, is not good for southeast Louisiana, but we'll see. These motions can balance out, like I said. Maybe later on it wobbles back west a little bit. Maybe later it wobbles east. That is something that's unpredictable. Overall, the storm definitely looks to be strengthening. Again, took a little while for it to, but overall it looks better. And it wasn't gonna stay weak. It wasn't gonna stay steady forever. The environment supports strengthening. It was going to strengthen. Do you think New Orleans will get hit hard in what category? Well, New Orleans isn't going to get the peak of it, not even close to it, but they could still get hurricane force wind gusts, which, 75-mile-an-hour wind gusts can do numbers. And obviously, New Orleans floods in a regular thunderstorm, so you have to worry about the flood threat no matter what the system is in New Orleans. But New Orleans will not be dealing with the brunt of this storm. Just watching that. It would be very interesting to me if the eye did form this small. Because with how small the eye is currently, I really don't think that this is like a true eye. It just doesn't seem to me like this is. I don't know. I don't know. How does Crown Point look in between Marrero and Jean Lafitte? Ooh. Okay. That's south. It's down here somewhere. Hang on. I think I'm pretty sure I know where this is, but it's down here somewhere. I just don't think it's showing off the map. I think Crown Point is over here somewhere. But you're in an area where I would think surge is very you're very prone to surge, to storm surge. With that said, with the angle this is coming at, with the marsh to your southwest, with the marsh to your southwest, this could be a problem. Now the winds will probably be near hurricane force and gusts, but maybe less than that. So you might be saved there, but I do think that the surge is an issue there. I'm not sure what the extent of the levees, because I feel like in almost every storm, the levee at Lafitte always gets overtopped. I feel like it's a story every single time there's a storm coming through. I know in Ida it definitely overtopped. Obviously this isn't Ida, but there will be a lot of storm surge in that area. I'm pretty sure this is. I'm not sure if I would include this. Obviously, it's inland, so you're not really seeing. They don't really forecast surge for areas like that because they think it's inland. Obviously, it's not. But somewhere, I would bet somewhere in between 4 and 7 feet. Yeah, Ida gave us 5 foot of surge, and we're 2 minutes from the nearest canal. I don't know how big the are there levees on those canals. I would think there are. No, I know for a fact there's seawall on it. There's like concrete barriers on it. Because I've crossed the Lapalco drawbridge many times. I know there's concrete walls on either side, up there at least. But I don't know how far south that goes. Overall, I would be pretty concerned if you're in that area. You've got almost a solid ring around this eye. It does appear that that's the center. Hmm. I just would not bet on the eye being this small. Now, this would probably be a good thing overall, because a smaller center means that not as many people are getting impacted by this storm. But I think no matter what it is, when we get close to landfall, it's going to expand as it gets sort of ripped apart. The aforementioned wind shear is going to begin to weaken it, but not enough to where it actually does anything to the winds or anything like that. So we'll see. This would be an interesting development, though. If you look again, there is a stream of water near it, and it's a boat launch, so there's no wall blocking whatever. But I know what flood wall you're talking. Okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go to Google Earth, because I want to figure this out for you. Because you see, that seems like an interesting area. Let's see, south. I think this is Crown Point, right? I believe that is Crown Point. And is this the boat launch that you're talking about? Yeah, there's definitely no wall. Hang on, let's. Doesn't look to be a wall at least. Yeah, that's just open. That's bad. Yeah, I'd be pretty concerned if I was there. That is not a place I would want to be. I mean, this overall area, this is very prone to flooding. Water from the marsh probably wouldn't end well. Yeah, Glisten Park. Okay, I did see that. This, yeah. That's where I was. But there's just no wall there. So if you're somewhere around there, I would probably recommend evacuating somewhere. Just to be safe, because even if it ends up being fine, I wouldn't want to risk that. Because that just seems like a dicey place to be. You can see the storm is coming together. Took a while, but it is finally getting its act together. I guess the key is that I was talking about earlier with this station. You can see the winds decrease. You can see the winds decrease as it starts to get on the west side of the storm. See, the overall movement is more like this. That's a bad color. Overall movement is kind of probably like this about. So as you continue to get like here, the winds are stronger than here, and then the winds here are stronger than here, kind of, as of now. That's what forward momentum does. Like the strongest winds in the storm right now are somewhere out here, or actually probably closer to the center. I drew that a little far away, but they're probably somewhere in here. So the east side of the storm will be the worst side, and that is what most of southeast Louisiana is going to get. Now we are going to go out of radar range for a bit. Very soon, in fact. But once it closes in on the Louisiana coast, we'll have radar back. Man. Overall, I'm not really sure what else to say. I mean, like I said, I'm probably gonna keep streaming until at least until I have something to do. But as of right now, I don't really have anything to do. So overall, the satellite image is better. It does appear that an eye is trying to show out on satellite, maybe just a little bit. It's hard to see, but there is a little dimple. But overall, we're starting to strengthen again. So there will be a long period of time tomorrow. The winds will be rocking. But this will not be anything like Hurricane Ida. Think of, say, Hurricane Isaac, and I know that was also a bad storm for some people in Laplace. But the storm surge in Laplace will not be a factor with this one. What category do you think it'll get up to? I do still believe that it'll get to a category 2 before landfall, but the official forecast has dropped the the forecast has dropped to a cat 1. Overall, the difference doesn't really mean anything, but a 90 mile an hour hurricane and a 100 mile an hour hurricane, there's not that much of a difference overall. It will be in that range. Like I said, I would still bet on a category 2, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, the one good thing is that the storms have not rotated We're not seeing them fully wrap around the center. If it started doing that, then I'd be a lot more concerned. I am running out of things to say. Like I said before, if there's any questions about like a certain location or whatnot, the chat is there. I would definitely recommend using it. You know, okay, looking at this now, I think when I put the rainfall graphic on earlier, it wasn't updated yet. This is updated. The only update it did, there's a swath of 8 to 12 inches of rain that stretches from the coast up to Baton Rouge. And the 6 to 8 region is a little smaller. But overall, that doesn't really change much. There is a moderate risk for flash flooding that might get upgraded to a high risk because, tropical storms tend to flood. We know this. I guess this was updated when I came to it earlier. Okay, these are good graphics, I guess I should use. So, the earliest arrival time of wind. So the black is, I believe that's Wednesday, 8 p.m. I wish I had it marked. It'd be pretty nice. Okay, this is probably better. Wait, no, that's Wednesday, 8 a.m. Sorry, not 8 p.m. Wednesday, 8 a.m. Around that time is the earliest reasonable time that you could see tropical storm force winds, but the most likely time is around 2 p.m. That's for the inland areas. Near the coast, it will start in the morning. Now, as you go, there should be, I would think there is graphics for all of these, but maybe not. I guess not. But yeah. That's a deep burst right there. The eye is going to fluctuate. It's not going to stay, you know, it's not going to just be one strength. You're going to see pulses up, you're going to see pulses down. That's how these storms are. They are never a straight line. So if you see, like here, you see the eye kind of disappear for a little bit. It's going to do that. That is nothing unordinary. That doesn't mean it's weakening. Like I was saying earlier, the eye doesn't mean it's strengthening. Or it means it's strengthening, but for that little time. It can fall apart any time. But it's going through its development pretty normally right now. But it appears no more questions. I'm out of things to say. I've said that 10 times now. So I think I'm going to end it there. Take one more look at satellite. You know. Ooh, look at that flare up there. Right at the center. It's a good sign for the storm to strengthen. Bad sign for us, but like I said, pretty expected. But yeah, be on the lookout. There is going to be a live stream tomorrow. I might do one in the morning. I might make a morning update just to, give you guys another look at what's going on. And then there will be one, hopefully right at landfall, and then taking people through landfall all the way through when the storm kicks out. But be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys for listening to me. Stay informed. For those of you on my Snap story, you guys know where to find me, information, I'll definitely be updating even as we go if anything crazy happens. Yep, thank you guys for tuning in.